have been erroneous in their nature, one of which is the presupposition in that argument from the debate. Actually, do you mind hitting the projector there?
No way.
So I believe, let's see, number 4, humans are not born of apes. That's actually a gross misunderstanding of evolution to say that we must either do one of two things. One, literally as a human pop out of an ape, and also I might point out that the closest relative to us at this time is understood to be a chimpanzee and not an ape. But
It's ape family. Chimpanzee is part of the ape family.
well, it's a closer relative to us. It's going to be the same family.
Chimpanzee is part of the ape family.
Anyways, I'm not going to argue semantics on this. But we do not need to pop out as a human out of an ape, nor do we need to suddenly stand upright. Evolution undergoes graduated punctuation, where if a species is more fit than another, it's going to survive longer. But that species may not be fit, or that adaptation of microevolution may not be fit in an area, and it may be fit as that one that undergoes that microevolution may move to a new niche and continue to evolve until you have different speciation. But given the idea is that there's a huge number of errors in just both philosophy and biology in here, and I mean, I just want to unequivocally say I don't believe in God. I'm one of those atheists. I'm not going to do it. And I really don't like the way that biology and science has been misrepresented. I find it almost, and I hate to say this because they were so welcoming, but despicable and gross. But given that we do not need to be born of apes, does that whole argument fall apart? I mean, could you say that the same argument could be made in a number of different ways through a number of different fallacies in a number of different syllogisms proving the disexistence of God, and they exist out there?
You want to say something, Marty? Yeah, I do. I want to say something. That's not a bad speech for a rock. The thing and we are happy that.
I would
look, just because we disagree very strongly, that there's no reason that we can be disagreeable. So you understand?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm here.
I wish we
I
had.
hope I didn't insult anyone.
No, you didn't insult anybody. You're stating your conviction.
Not yet.
That's my favorite. Is two groups that disagree the most. I have a good time.
Well, there's no reason otherwise. We both know we strongly disagree. We would have been having this right now. I just wish we had more of this kind of thing about the nation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the point I wanted to make, though, relative to what you said, how do you explain then that matter is eternal?
Okay, that does bring me to one. I had, of course, a million things going through my mind. The idea of matter being eternal is, I hate to use dismissal as an argument, but it's almost a mute point to me. Something that I do is talk about evolution a lot, and evolution in no way explains the origin of matter or the universe. It explains the origin of man. My expertise is not evolution. It is not the Big Bang. It's not the beginning of matter itself. And in such, matter itself could better be explained by someone who is a physicist and can explain the eternity of matter. But I would just actually simply turn that around and say that to create matter requires a creator from your viewpoint, God, right?
Well, I'm just saying if matter has to come from somewhere, or else you're going to say it's eternal.
Well, why does God not have to come somewhere?
Because something has to start something.
Well, matter has to start then.
How does matter do that? How is there scientific proof?
Then how does God start? It's the same circular logic for both cases.
No, it's not circular logic. Science says that a mind, an adequate cause, always brings about something. Well, then how is it that you can have dead rocks and dirt, for lack of a better way to put it? And I'm not going to throw it at you. Dead rocks and dirt.
I'm a big guy, I probably do.
No, I wouldn't want to do that. It'd be the wrong thing to do. There's a sense of office about me that comes from somewhere that says I ought not throw this at you, which begs to be discerned. Where did that come from, evolution?
To put it simply, it comes from the rock. We are.
So where's the scientific evidence?
Yeah. So here we go.
Where's the scientific evidence that happened?
So here we go. Morality serves us very well in a group, right? It's better to not say throw the rock at me because a number of your other people in here might think it's a horrible idea and ask you to leave, right? It serves you the same way in a large group of people to serve to hunt as a group, things like that, which all evolve from physiology. We are every thought in our head. I'll give you a second. Every thought in our head, everything we do, every person we love, everything in there is not some sort of magical feeling. It is literally, it boiled down, it's the location of calcium ions. It's is literally the charge of the nerves in our brain. We are our physiology and nothing more. In that case, there's no reason that morality, good, evil, all these concepts couldn't evolve with us. The idea that I can't remember now because there's a lot of speakers, but someone said we sympathize with the seal, right? When people were clubbing the seal, right? So why do we sympathize with the seal is we have that morality, right? Well, who's missing that morality? The guy clubbing the seal. They evolved differently, right? If we all have this imbued morality from God, no one should be clubbing that seal to begin with, right?
The point that you have made to drop back before all of that, and that was the way it just, and I don't think you meant it this way, but it was a way that you can just set it aside is everything you've been saying doesn't amount to anything if you cannot go back and explain where matter came from.
Yeah, I'm saying that for my argument, no, I cannot explain where matter came
Well,
from.
that-
But hold on, no, let me finish. That means does not mean that anyone cannot possibly explain that. And even if I have to accept the existence of matter at the very beginning to explain everything else, there is no requirement, need, or any other justification to believe in a God other than that. And that on its own does not require the belief in the God. It requires that an explanation be found, even though one at this time does not necessarily exist.
The point we're trying to make, though, is that you refer or you reduce back to either there is eternal matter or eternal mind. Do you agree with that?
I disagree with that.
So what is there anything eternal?
There's a third possibility besides matter and mind?
Albert Einstein, who, by the way, in his office may have been very empty, but his actual physical work was busy blowing up Hiroshima. But I just wanted to point that out. He didn't just work in a lab out of his mind. But Albert Einstein, E equals mc squared, the idea that matter and energy can transform between the two. Matter doesn't have to exist at all times. In fact, the chances are about 90% of the universe is not made of matter itself, it's made of antimatter. This idea that matter has to be eternal is, in my opinion, a fallacy.
In your opinion?
Yes.
Okay, we're interested in what is or is not.
Everything you've stated today is also your opinion.
Well, that's debatable too.
Okay.
The thing we would have to do, now really, this is where we are, because there's no way to do it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Is to come up with the actual positions. I know God exists, and you'd have to say, I know God does not exist.
Yeah.
And I could affirm, or somebody could, or 2 nights in an oral discussion, I know God exists. And then you or somebody like you could affirm, I know that God does not exist. And of course, you would have to, in order to do that, produce proof. Am I right? And I would too.
As a scientist, we generally prove stuff that isn't right, but I don't know if that I would have to prove that God exists because
No, I'm not saying you have to.
Well,
I said I would.
I don't know that I'd have to prove God doesn't exist because I don't begin to believe in the existence of
You
God.
have to have a reason for not for believing that He doesn't exist.
The whole concept of God is foreign, though, for me. Like the whole concept of needing to believe in a God or there being a God. I'm at almost a default of a person who doesn't even begin to believe in the supernatural, who lives in a physical, real world, and that's where I state all beliefs. But I'm not to interrupt you, but if anyone wants to get a question in besides me or feels I'm inappropriate, please just stop me.
Well, we do want to give other folks time.
Yeah,
In a minute,
absolutely.
That's fine.
I would
You
say
want
so,
to say?
yeah. It appears that you have rejected the idea of God without even considering evidence whether He exists or not. As if I understood your last statement correctly, He doesn't
I'll
exist
correct
in
that.
your realm of thinking, or you don't feel a need to believe in it.
So I don't know how to explain this the best, and I've been working on that for years because I come to a lot of things and like to discuss this. But in the scientific world, we start with a question and then form a hypothesis. Then we test the hypothesis to figure out whether or not something
It's
is
a matter of
true.
falsification and not verification.
Yeah,
in
so-
science, you're in the area of when you form a hypothesis, you look at the data to see if you can falsify the data, right?
But before we form the hypothesis, we ask the question. To ask the question, there has to be something there leading us to think, maybe I should ask this question and then make a way of testing it. I've weighed the data to form that question and decided that the question itself is not worth forming. There's not enough
So
strong
basically,
evidence.
what I'm saying then is, and if I understand you right, you just discounted God because you don't believe it's even worth discussing.
If you really